This video will explain what a poll watcher is, their function, and what they can and cannot do at a polling location. You are watching this video because you have been hired by the Board of Elections to work as an inspector or chairperson. You are also aware of the poll coordinator and the early voting site manager roles that are hired by the Board of Elections. Someone else commonly seen in a poll site are poll watchers. Poll watchers are not hired by the Board of Elections, nor are they at polling locations on behalf of the Board of Elections. Now that we have established that poll watchers are not sent by the Board of Elections, we can discuss why they are at polling locations. Poll watchers are hired by political campaigns or political parties. Their job is to watch what is happening at a polling location and gather specific information to report to the campaign or political party they are representing. Poll watchers must have a signed paper poll watcher certificate in order to be at a poll site. Without this certificate, the poll watcher must leave the polling location. Any poll site workers hired by the Board of Elections can ask to see a poll watcher certificate at any time. What can a poll watcher do at a polling location? First, poll watchers can observe the opening and closing of the machines. This means that they can be at the polling location before and after the poll site is open for voting. Note that they cannot interfere or participate in setup, only watch. Second, the poll watchers can watch what is happening in a polling location throughout the day. Third, the poll watchers can take note of both the public and protective counts on the DS200s, as long as there is not a voter scanning in their ballot at that time. Fourth, poll watchers can ask the inspectors to keep a list of voters that have signed in to vote at their table. Please note that although the poll watchers may ask you to keep this list, you are in no way obligated to do so, as it is not a responsibility given to you by the Board of Elections. Fifth, poll watchers can gather voting results at the end of the night as they are read aloud by the inspectors after the close of the polls. Remember, you do not need to keep a list of voters for the poll watchers, because it is not one of your duties as an inspector or chairperson working for the Board of Elections. This means that you may refuse to keep this list if you do not want to. If you are asked and do want to keep the list, it is imperative that keeping the list does not interfere with voting or slows down the line. It is important to know that regardless of who asks you to keep a list of voters, you must have a copy of the same list for the other party. For example, if a Republican poll watcher asks you to keep a list, you must have a copy ready to give to the Democrats. Poll watchers must supply you with anything you may need to keep the list, such as paper, pen, and carbon paper, so you are able to keep an exact copy of the list for the other party. You may or may not choose to help the poll watcher by keeping a list for them, but it is crucial that you never have a poll watcher help you with any of your responsibilities as a Board of Elections inspector or chairperson. One more thing a poll watcher can do is challenge a voter if they have a legitimate reason to believe that the voter is not who they say they are. Most often, a challenge is about someone's identity. Technically, a challenge can be made by an inspector or another voter as well. If a challenge takes place, the inspector gets the challenge form from the white paperwork binder and follows it step by step. They will challenge and administer the oath that is found on the back of the form. If the voter has sworn and denied the challenge, the voter can vote on the machine after all the paperwork is completed and placed in the white binder. If the voter refuses to take the oath, they can vote by affidavit or obtain a court order. If the voter takes the oath, they can be checked in on the poll pad as usual. When you get to the screen where both the Democrat and Republican inspectors need to initial, check the Challenge Voter box, which can be found on the bottom left of the screen. Once you check the box, there will be a drop-down list of voter challenge reasons. Click on the appropriate reason and tap Continue. At this time, the Democrat and Republican inspectors initial and tap Submit. Now that we've discussed what poll watchers can do, let's discuss what poll watchers cannot do. Poll watchers cannot interfere in any way. They cannot gather in groups larger than 3 poll watchers per table. Poll watchers cannot stand behind or sit at the inspectors' tables. Poll watchers cannot take pictures in the polling location. Poll watchers cannot stand behind the privacy booths, Automark, or DS200s while voters are marking or casting their ballots, and they cannot ask a voter how they voted. Poll watchers cannot demand that you keep a list of voters. They cannot show a picture of their poll watcher certificate on their phone or remain in the site without a paper certificate signed by the party chair. Lastly, poll watchers cannot take any of the DS200 results tapes or any other Board of Elections materials with them. To review, you can keep a list of voters for a poll watcher if it does not interfere with your duties as an inspector or chairperson. The poll watcher's job is essentially just to watch. And remember, if a poll watcher is pushing the boundaries of what is allowed and appropriate in a polling location, call the Board of Elections immediately or speak to the site manager during early voting. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please contact Danielle or Jerry on the DEM training team or email us at dboetraining@nassaucountynY.gov.